Have you ever noticed that there are places you can never visit again, even thought they still exist? Your childhood bedroom, the street where you grew up, the cafe where you met someone you loved. They are still there, but somehow they are gone. Not because the world changed, because you did. One day, without realizing it, you stopped remembering places and begin remembering versions of yourself. The teenager who believed anything was possible. The child who didn't know time was running out. The stranger who hadn't yet become you. We tell ourselves we miss the past, but we don't. We miss the person who lived inside it. Memory quietly removes the ordinary, softens the painful, and leaves behind only what the heart refuses to lose. So every year, the past becomes more beautiful, not because it was, but because memory keeps editing the film. And today, our memories are no longer fading. Algorithms preserve them, resurface them, and recommend them back to us through old photographs, forgotten playlists, and the quiet reminder on this day. The past has stopped disappearing. It has started competing with the present. This isn't just nostalgia. It's something far more dangerous. The more uncertain tomorrow becomes, the more irresistible yesterday feels. Technology was once sold as a doorway into the future. Increasingly, it has become a portal into the past. For centuries, people believed nostalgia was simply homesickness, a longing for somewhere far away. But they were wrong. Svetlana Boym, one of the most influential thinkers on nostalgia, argued that it isn't really about places at all. It's about time. It is a desire to recover a version of yourself that no longer exists. The house was never the destination. It was only the stage. The real story was always happening inside you. Boym believed there are two very different kinds of nostalgia. The first is restorative nostalgia. It doesn't just remember the past, it wants to rebuild it, to make it live again. This is the engine behind political slogans, manufactured golden ages, and every promise to return things to the way they used to be. Paradise in this vision was real. We simply lost the map. The second is reflective nostalgia. Its longing is much quieter, aware that the past cannot return. It does not try to rebuild the ruins. It simply sits beside the memory and mourns it. A moment becomes precious the exact second it disappears. Restorative nostalgia wants the past rebuilt. Reflective nostalgia knows it can only be remembered. The tragedy of modern nostalgia is that we keep searching for ourselves in places where we no longer exist. But there is something even stranger. What if the past you're longing for never actually existed the way you remember it? Most of us imagine memory as a pristine archive, a vault where every conversation and ordinary summer day is carefully stored, waiting to be retrieved. But the psychologist Daniel Kahneman argued that memory doesn't preserve experience, it reconstructs it. He described two distinct versions of the self, the experiencing self and the remembering self. The experiencing self lives your life right now, moment by moment, feeling the traffic, the boredom, or the laughter at dinner. The remembering self is different. It doesn't live your life, it tells the story of your life. And these two selves do not always agree. Kahneman defined this through the peak-end rule. Our minds do not record life equally. We give disproportionate weight to emotional peaks and endings. Everything else slowly fades into the background. Memory isn't an archive, it's an editor. Every time we revisit a memory, the edit becomes a little cleaner. The painful moments lose their sharpness. The ordinary quietly disappears, until eventually we are no longer remembering what actually happened. We are remembering the story we've been telling ourselves about what happened. Nostalgia isn't built from reality. It's built from an edited reality. And if human psychology has always edited yesterday, what happens when technology begins editing it too? If nostalgia were simply a constant feature of human psychology, it would remain steady, but it hasn't. Everywhere you look, the past is returning. Vinyl records, film cameras, vintage fashion, even childhood itself has become a curated product. Why? The philosopher Erich Fromm understood that freedom can produce anxiety, and that human beings often seek security when uncertainty becomes difficult to carry. And whenever the future begins to feel uncertain, we instinctively look for somewhere that feels safe. Artificial intelligence is changing work. Technology is shifting identity. The future feels faster than ever. It's strangely harder to imagine. And when tomorrow becomes unpredictable, yesterday begins to feel like home. Perhaps nostalgia isn't really about the past. Perhaps it's about the future you stopped believing in. For most of history, memories faded naturally. Today, they return on an automated schedule. A social media alert gently asked, "Remember when?" Rarely does our technology ask, "What comes next?" Attention follows repetition. Whatever we revisit often enough slowly begins to define us. Our technology has learned a remarkable commercial truth. The past is far easier to sell than the future. If memory is always pulling us backward, what keeps us moving forward? The psychiatrist Viktor Frankl, after surviving the horrors of the concentration camps, concluded that human beings do not endure because they are the strongest or the happiest. They endure because they have a reason to continue. Meaning always points forward. Memory looks backward. Purpose looks ahead. And that is why nostalgia becomes most seductive when purpose becomes unclear. A mind without direction naturally begins walking in circles, searching for answers in places it hasn't already been. The opposite of nostalgia isn't forgetting, it is purpose. A person deeply engaged in building something meaningful still treasures yesterday. They simply stop living there. Because purpose has given them somewhere else to stand. Nostalgia was never the problem. It was always the symptom. A quiet signal that the future is asking for something we have not yet found. Every great civilization has been built on a monumental story about tomorrow. The pyramids were built for one. The cathedrals pointed toward one. The space race promised one. For thousands of years, humanity assumed that the future was a place worth imagining. But we may be entering an age in which the past is becoming easier to reconstruct than the future is to imagine. Artificial intelligence won't simply answer our questions. It will resurrect our past. It will perfectly reconstruct your childhood home, the voices you've lost, and the versions of yourself you believed had disappeared forever. Not as static photographs, but as immersive, infinitely replayable experiences. And when memory becomes more beautiful than reality, reality gains a competitor. The danger was never that we would remember too much. It was that we might stop expecting anything better to come. The greatest luxury of the next century won't be wealth or information or artificial intelligence. It will be the ability to remain generally excited about tomorrow. The civilizations that survive will not be the ones that remember the past most perfectly. They will be the ones courageous enough to imagine a future that memory cannot compete with. Nostalgia was never asking us to return. It was quietly asking us to build a future worthy of becoming someone else's nostalgia. That is a prophecy. This is part of the TOMAAS prophecy's cinematic essays that don't just reflect the world, but read between its fractures through layered visuals and emotional pattern recognition. Art isn't decoration, it's intel. It translates what we haven't yet learned to name, because by the time everyone understands the shift, it already happened. And if something here felt uncomfortable familiar, leave the thought it triggered, even one sentence. Because the future is built from the ideas we choose to carry forward. And if you're drawn to the visual work behind these ideas, you can explore more of my digital artworks and original photography at TOMAAS.com.